I'm here with Christian Booher from Central Michigan Life. I appreciate you taking your time to join us here.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Looking forward to chatting a bit about Central Michigan and what they'll be bringing to Stillwater here in a couple of weeks. What are you looking forward to in that game?
It's another opportunity for CMU to take on a Power 5 school. The last couple of years they've thrown one or two Power 5s at least on the non-conference schedule to kind of give them a gauge of where they're at. Last year, two SEC teams in Missouri and LSU. This year it's Oklahoma State, and then a little bit later they'll take on Penn State. Just kind of looking to get in a feel. You bring back a lot of talent on that offensive side, starting with the nation's leading rusher in Lou Nichols. And really, you want to see how the offensive line holds up. It's going to be a young offensive line, breaking in two new guys at offensive tackle positions. And, it's all about how can they handle this competition because, Oklahoma State's probably the best team on that schedule, and you get them right away. So it'll be a good test for them.
In particular, going up against Oklahoma State's defense, you think they're going to lean heavily on it or try to kind of mix it in?
When you look at Lou Nichols carrying the ball, 341 times last year, that's obviously going to be a number one type of asset to their offense. They want to run the ball. They want to pound the ball. The way this offense is set up and the way that Jim McElwain kind of likes to run it is he likes to hit the chunk plays early and then use that running game in the second half to wear down a defense and win a ball game. So I would imagine that you'll see some big plays early on, or at least attempts at big plays early on, maybe some downfield shots. But, in that second half, when the rubber meets the road, you're going to see them leaning heavily on that run game. And they're losing a big blocker in Hunter Buchkowski, who was very good at that kind of fullback, H-back role to go out and set the edge and pull on the defensive ends. And, they're looking for a new one to go and do that now. So I'm interested to see when Central Michigan sets up those outside zone type run looks, who's the one doing the pulling, who's cleaning up the edge, because I think that could go a long way. But, yeah, Oklahoma State's going to be a very good challenge for them because that run defense is so solid.
Into the other side of the ball, with the Central Michigan defense, what are you looking for with them? Who do they have coming back as they get into this big game and a big environment?
I think they lost a bunch of huge pieces on defense, and I think that one thing I'm watching out for as the season begins is what does that secondary look like? The cornerback Dante Kent kind of found his rhythm near the end of the year. He's going to start at one cornerback position, but you look on the other side, is it going to be Rolian Sturkey? Is it going to be Dante Kent's brother who just transferred in, Ronald Kent Jr.? And then, they graduated three safeties, two, and then Devontae Reed was the third. He's transferred to South Carolina as a grad transfer. So not a ton of experience in the back half of that defense. It'll be interesting to see who they trot out there when the season begins. At linebacker, they lost two transfers, Troy Brown, George Douglas, both guys solid 2-3 year starters, just very good contributors that they'll miss. But at the same time, I think they feel good about who they've got coming in there, starting with Justin Whiteside and Kyle Moretti, two guys who did well when given the opportunity last year. And, I think they're going to hit the ground running. I think the best as far as depth position group on that defense is the defensive line. I think they've got a solid core of defensive tackles, starting with Jaquez Bristol, John Wesley Whiteside, Tyrese Woods. The list kind of goes on and on. And then at the edge position, they'll bring back Thomas Incoom, who I think is going to have a huge year. And opposite him, you don't really know. I mean, is it going to be Laquan Johnson when he gets healthy? Is it going to be somebody like Malik Jenkins who just transferred in? That kind of second defensive end spot is what I'm looking at as well. And then one last player on that defensive line is Robbie Stewart, who's going to be a sixth-year senior. Missed all of last year, what would have been a senior season with an injury. Got the medical red shirt. He's back now. And more than what he brings on the field, his experience in games like this is just incredible. So he's a huge asset for sure. And this is a team that, you don't really know. They were picked third in the preseason poll in the MAC West, but I could see it going one of two ways. Maybe they outplay their expectations, or maybe, that is what it is, and they kind of slog through the non-conference. So going to be interesting to watch for sure.
Absolutely. And, these kind of games, even if you're close, they can get a lot of confidence later in the season, but especially when you win. And, Central Michigan, I don't know how many people are still around from 2016, but they can sure put on the tape and see that the last time they were in Stillwater, they won. And I'm sure they've seen that final play several times. So what do you think that does to the psyche of the team coming in?
Well, and you can talk about the last play, I think, with the Hail Mary, obviously an incredible play, and you can debate. I'm sure we can debate for hours on whether or not that should have been, allowed, or whether they should have been able to run that play. But at the end of the day, for 4 quarters, Central Michigan went down to Boone Pickens Stadium and stood toe-to-toe with Oklahoma State. You can talk about where the two programs were at that time. I mean, Oklahoma State had a very good quarterback in Mason Rudolph. Plenty of, if I'm not mistaken, plenty of NFL guys on that roster. And Central Michigan went down there and played well enough to win, and then they got the break at the end. And I think that just goes to show, even a squad like this year's squad, that, hey, if we go out there and we play our game and we do what we want to do, as far as your offensive and defensive identities and your game plan, this is a game you can win. Will they win it? I'm not sure. Obviously, Oklahoma State, very talented, very good team. I believe top 15 in the AP poll to start the year. Going to be certainly a tough test. It's not like they're going to go down and get one. But I think that 2016 game shows this group that they've got now, that if you go down there and play hard and do your thing, you got plenty of talent. You can stand in there and throw a couple punches, and then when the thing gets to the fourth quarter, if this game's close, you can go out there and take it, kind of like that 2016 team did when they got their opportunity. So yeah, I think that it's obviously the play itself is kind of like a cult rallying cry around here. Like that's kind of like one of the top football moments of the last decade, I would say, and for good reason. That was a monumental win for the program. But I think that more importantly is kind of like that, show it here. You can talk about being a team like that all you want, but hey, here's how we did it. You go back and watch that game, and it's just standing toe-to-toe with your opponent for 4 quarters, and then when you get your chance, you take advantage of it.
And for you personally, what was it like for you? Were you watching the game, or were you following closely at the time? I don't know if you were already in school at the time or if you were still around.
Oh, that's actually a really funny story. I believe I was a sophomore in high school, and I was at home. My hometown is about 45 minutes from Mount Pleasant, so I was a CMU football fan growing up. It was, you could drive 2 hours to East Lansing, you could drive 3 hours to Ann Arbor, or you could go 45 minutes, pay $15 for a ticket, and go watch CMU football. And when I was very young, they were very good. They had Dan Lefevre, they had Antonio Brown. So I grew up, and those guys were kind of my heroes when it comes to football. But yeah, that 2016 game, I was actually doing PA announcing for my dad coached Pop Warner football. I believe my little brother was playing, and one of the things we would do to kind of keep it fun for the people who were, just kind of watching their kids and, maybe just watching the seconds tick by on the clock because they just want to go home, is we would just update with, various college football scores throughout the day. And that game was going on, and we were watching it on my phone in the press box, me and some of my other high school football teammates. And that last play happens where Rudolph throws it away, and I hop on the mic and I just say, final score from Stillwater, Oklahoma, Central Michigan loses. I don't remember what the score is. Shame on me. But and then they throw the flag, and I think I ended up missing and not calling like 2 plays because we were just so locked in on the game. And then when it happened, we went crazy in the press box. People are turning around looking like, what's going on? One of my teammates kicked the trash can in the press box over. Yeah, that is not something I will probably ever forget. That was a very special moment for me and my friends. I knew I was coming to Central from the time I think I was in like 3rd grade, just because, this broadcast journalism program that they've got over here is kind of what I was always looking for. So, but yeah, that was without a doubt one of my favorite memories from high school. Me and all my teammates, a lot of them didn't care about CMU, but it was just so crazy and so bizarre that we all went crazy in the press box. And my dad yelled at me after the Pop Warner games were over because I missed a couple plays and wasn't doing my job, but I had to explain to him, and he's a CMU grad, so he wasn't too upset about that.
Right. I bet he understood how the emotions would be in that situation. It's really cool to hear about how they were over there, because obviously it was, a lot of shock and disappointment and anger with the call and everything here.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to kind of see that through a different set of eyes and kind of hear about what you guys experience as Central Michigan fans. Going off of what you were saying with wanting to go with Central Michigan for broadcasting and journalism, kind of what has your path been like to covering? And then you're the senior editor now, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm helping out probably exclusively on the editing side this year. When I started, I was a freshman in 2019. We had 3 other people on staff, including myself. One of them's Evan Petzold. He's now covering the Detroit Tigers for the Detroit Free Press. Austin Chastain is, I believe, still at Greenville Daily News doing his thing, covering high school sports. He just won a USBWA award for best feature, I believe. Super proud of him. He's a very good friend of mine as well. And then Andy Loveland. And all 4 of us became very, very close, and we're all still very close. So that was kind of what kept me going, especially early on. I was covering volleyball when I started, and I didn't know anything about volleyball. And other than all the people within the CMU program were all very nice to me and very open, and they made for a lot of interesting things to write about just because they were such a good team. But what really kept me going was my friends who I had made, and it was kind of like, not to get off on too much of a tangent here, but everybody tells you when you're in high school that you should try to get involved in a group when you go to college. And I always thought that was kind of whatever, like, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. I don't need to go and find like some club to be a part of that I'm not interested in. But in a way, that's kind of what CM Life has been for me. It was kind of that club where you just find a bunch of like-minded people that you get to know and become friends with. And, we all just had, being sports writers, we all had similar interests. And so we just all clicked right away, and that kind of kept me going. And then, towards the end of my freshman year was when the pandemic started and everything got shut down. There wasn't a ton to write about. Then my sophomore year, I was going to be the football beat writer. The word comes out that the MAC's canceling the football season. It's like, okay, what do we do now? And luckily, they were able to put something together and have a 6-game season. So it wasn't like the cupboard was bare. But it was just kind of a weird year. And then last year, stuck with football again. And, they had a really good year towards the end of it, reeled off 5 straight wins. Predominantly football since my freshman year, and then a little bit of men's basketball, women's basketball, then baseball in the spring, usually just because I'm the closest to Mount Pleasant on our staff. So I can make the trek and go catch a ball game or catch a doubleheader and cover that. So during the summer, I kind of took that on the last 2 years. But now we're at a point where we've got, 6, 7, 8 writers on staff. And it's like, okay, I've written a bunch of game stories. Like, I know I can do that. I've written features, and I'll still probably, stay sharp and write a couple here and there. But I just want to let other people get the experiences that I had now. Some of my best memories of college have come from CM Life, whether it's traveling to cover the New Mexico Bowl as a freshman, covering the MAC championship game as a freshman. Just a lot of good things that I've been able to do because of this place. And, it's led me to another opportunity that I have. I kind of freelance stuff for the SI Fan Nation's All Lion website. And they keep me busy. I love working there too. So, but none of that's possible without the education that I've gotten. And, as I'm going to graduate in the spring, probably was hoping to graduate in the fall, but we had a little class mix up. And so now I got to come back and take one class in the spring to graduate. So, but yeah, I can't say enough good things about my experience. It's really been a lot of fun.
That's always good to hear. Great experience. It sounds like Central Michigan has been a big part of your life, as Oklahoma State has been with mine. And before we kind of wrap up, I want to give you an opportunity to go over anything else you had, or maybe drop your socials.
Yeah. So we've been kind of, as we've gotten more people back on campus ahead of the school year, we've been starting to roll out our positional previews, and we'll have a bunch of other football related content when it comes to the Central Michigan side of things. And, you won't see my name on a ton of it, but you'll see our new sports editor, Sean Chase, and then our new football beat reporter, Ryan Caloris, as well. Super excited about those 2 guys. Can't say enough good things. So if you're interested in learning as much as you can possibly know about the Chippewas, you won't get any coverage like we offer. I don't think anywhere else. There's some other sites that do a really good job, but I think, my biased opinion is that CM Life is the top source for all things related to CMU. So you can follow us at CM Life on Twitter. We're CM Life on Facebook. And then if you were looking for just the sports stuff, you can just type in at CM Life Sports on Twitter. That's where all of our sports stuff is. We've been rolling out position previews. We'll have record predictions here coming soon. And then, if you're not a social media person and you just want to find the website, it's just www.cm-life.com. So yeah, really excited about what we've got, and I'm excited about the season opening matchup Thursday night, September 1st, man. National TV, that's going to be a blast, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And Christian, I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. It's been excellent getting a look at the Chippewas and your journey to where you are. You did a great job, great information, absolutely. enjoyed our chat and look forward to chatting again soon.
Hey, man, me too. I appreciate it anytime. And thanks so much for allowing me to share my story and share my thoughts on CMU. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thanks very much.